What up, everyone? This is Wild Phil with Wild Phil Zosfi. Let's get fucking wild. I'm your local Chicagoland stand-up wild comedian, wild podcaster, and today, wild centrist. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm right down the center, man, of the yin and yang. I cannot wait till I see the hate I get from people, because everybody always tells me, they're like, well, if you're not on this side and you're not on this, you're just fucking lazy. No, or it just doesn't affect my life. I choose to be happy. You know, they say ignorance is bliss. But I don't consider myself ignorant. I'm just kind of very aware of everything, but apathetic. I just don't care. But that puts me in a real beneficial position because, you know, I used to love to be in debate class. I loved like calling everybody out on their shit because everybody at the end of the day has got a little bit of hypocrisy. They got their flaws. They got their problems. And so for today's video, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I never watched a full fucking episode of this Breakfast Club ever. I mean, I think I've seen clips with rappers on it. It seems like it's a predominantly like black podcast for a black audience and just that talks about black issues. And so, yeah, I've never watched a full. I mean, I've seen like some rappers that I like on it, but that's all I know about that. And then they're interviewing this guy, Vivek Ramaswamy or whatever the fuck. I don't even know his fucking name. And I don't care because I don't care about politics, bro. People are like, are you rooting for the black or the white side of the chess board? I don't play chess, bitch. That's how I play. I just watch you morons just eat each other up. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to watch this video. And I don't know. I just, like I said, I got an unbiased point of view. And let's see how it goes. I just, you know, I've seen clips of this, and it just drove me nuts. Like, you could just tell by the title what these people are already, like, the agenda that they're pulling. And being from the center, being unbiased, maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll be able to do things that somebody like me used to do, called thinking for yourself. So, in this video, I guess this guy, Vivek, like I said, all I know about him is I think he's Republican, he's Indian. I think he's Hindu. And that's all I know. I haven't. All I've heard is that he gets into this quarrel with this interviewer on this Breakfast Club. So let's see how it goes. Let's see what I got to say about it. This is my first time watching it. First reaction video. Let me know all the reasons why you fucking hate me in the comments, bro. Let's get wild.
But that's a detail compared to my point, which is we need to revive the ideals that the nation was actually founded on and do a better job of aspiring to them.
And we have Teslin Figaro. I'm sure Teslin has some questions. Tez, you good?
Yes, I do. So I've heard a lot of, you know, what you think and your vision, and I'm a very practical person, and I want to kind of, opposed to talking about your opponents.
You get Teslin Figaro, man. That sounds like a futuristic cigar that I would have, and you can already tell by her eyelashes, like, she's going to chew this guy's ass out. That's all I'm getting so far.
Let's talk about you for a moment, and let's actually talk about your pop.
Bro, I got to say, for this being my first video, the first thing I'll say is I'm really fucking happy that my green screen work for the first is 20 times better than whatever the fuck is going on right here. Let's see what she says.
Policy. Explain to me your position on this civic duty voting.
And she's got like a Toys R Us podcast mic that you get, like, you know, those podcast kits that you get at like Walmart. So, bro, I'm judging. Let's keep it. Bro, I can't. I'm too nicotined up. Let's just keep going.
Sure. So my position is I think that every kid who graduates from high school should know the minimums about the country that we require an immigrant to know about the country in order to become a citizen. So there's a test. My mom had to pass it. Every immigrant has to pass it to this country that asks you some basic questions. What are the three branches of government? What branch of government does the U.S. president lead? Some basic questions about what is the Bill of Rights. It's like a multiple choice exam, or some of them.
Legislative, judicial, and executive. And I am also an immigrant who knows that shit. How many of you know that shit? Let's keep going.
You write in. I think that if we're going to ask immigrants to pass that test, as we should, I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass that as well, because young people, it goes back to that issue of pride. you don't value a country that you don't know something about. You don't value something you inherit. You value something you have a stake in creating, in building, or knowing something about. So how do we think big about this? Well, young people, as I told you, most of them, very few of them vote as it stands today. Super small numbers. And apparently 60% of them say they would rather give up their right to vote than give up TikTok. Well, I say, all right, let's take that to the next level. How about we do something that raises the voting age from 18 to 25, but you still get to vote at 18 if you just pass that same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to vote. And tests aren't for everybody, so be it. Then you at least serve in the military or a first responder role for 6 months. That
I don't think what he's saying here so far I'm against. I would be absolutely. I'm one of those guys. I grew up in an immigrant family. I didn't fucking speak English till I was like 10, and it was really fucking weird for me that I was just like, the older I got, I was surrounded by more and more people who hate being in this country. And the funny thing, it almost seemed like the more you love this country, the more successful you were. It's like, you know, as an immigrant, I came here like, okay, what is the game here? What do I do? Well, what you do is you find the loopholes of capitalism to get your way to the fucking top. That's what you do. So I don't, you know, it's weird that people don't, you know, but the whole thing about the right to vote, here's what I'll say, okay? It's sort of like, yeah, just here's the centrist point of view. Just because it's your fucking right to vote, your right to bear arms, your right to whatever, to freedom of speech, doesn't mean you should always exercise that right. You know, you got the right to all these things, but not everybody. Let's be fucking honest. We can know a lot of people who could be contestants on Jerry Springer that shouldn't exercise any of these rights.
That's my civic duty voting proposal. And the reason is, I'll actually make a prediction. I think youth voting in this country will skyrocket. From a very low level right now, it will skyrocket because you value
That's
something
optimistic.
you actually have to earn. And I think that this is not a left-wing or right-wing point. We all have duties as citizens, right? You know, we aspire to free market capitalism, right? Materialist advance. And that's the life I've lived as well, by the way. My parents came to this country with not a lot of money. I've lived the American dream. I've made a lot of money by building businesses. That's one side of what it means to be an American. But part of it is we also have duties to this country. And I think the more we wake that up, actually, the voting age only became 18 in 1971 in the context of the Vietnam draft. So I just think reviving those ideas is going to be good for us.
A lot. So let's prove your point. Nick, our camera guy, do you know the 3 branches of the
Nick
federal
is
government?
over 24, so it don't matter.
But I'm just saying, but nobody knows they're 24. Red, do you know the 3 branches?
Executive.
Well, I got a test. I got a
See what I'm
test.
saying?
I would like to see if you're willing to pass.
Oh,
Because I believe
shit.
in just as
Oh,
you believe in
shit.
civic engagement.
Do you know the 3 branches? Maple, evergreen. Listen. I got a test for you. Let's see if he passes the test, because she's getting. I mean, clearly, she's gonna test this motherfucker.
I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will, absolutely.
It's so obvious
And
she
the
wants
way this
to
is opening
fucking
up, I have a
bite
feeling
his
I'm about to
cheek
fail
off.
it. But that's good. Let's do it.
That's right. Yeah. Just for clarity, I am an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican.
Cool.
I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just
Fair
to kind
enough.
of set the foundation
I'm
for the
open
test.
to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay,
Who?
great.
Lori
Let's
Ann?
go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way,
Thank you.
for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement?
You could see that, by the way, his fucking eyes are moving. He's like, what are the, like, what is she's judging me so fucking hard. What are these questions have anything to do with me running? All right. Let's just, yeah.
Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen, to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take
Sat
anything
around.
And you don't
hard
even
way.
have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely.
You've been sitting around, bitch. You can't even have a fucking good green screen, and you're on some shithead podcast. This guy's running for like office. She's just being so condescending. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Like, it's basically you know I can't believe like somebody. I can't believe they have a host like this. I hear Breakfast Club is like a successful podcast, but like, what are you doing? You're just like, for today's interview, we're gonna have Vivek in the office, and I need you to shit on him as much as possible. I don't know what the fuck is going on here. This is my first take, so.
Not been involved in civics, one, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie, he was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying
your
parents were immigrants. My apologies.
And that's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country.
This is what it's 2023. This is the generation of like the most disrespectful but passive aggressiveness pussy way of talking shit. It's so fucking. I'm like she's just, it's just like. The reason I have to fucking break this part, because you know what? It's so funny when people who think they are victims talk to somebody who's like an immigrant who has to learn a new language, who may have even had it harder than you are, whatever background you come from, and they're it's almost like envy, that you made it this far, even though like, I don't know. The point is, like, she's mentioning Chris Christie. I think I heard of him just because I saw Triumph the Insult Comic Dog like just roast him to shreds about being fat. But it's just sort of like, this is like, she's already coming into this. This isn't an interview. This is, I already have my agenda and my opinion made up, and now I'm gonna grill you about it. I'm sorry, guys. I am a centrist, but she's like, this is the worst fucking interview ever, okay? Like, this is just somebody shitting on somebody.
My apologies. I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No, we're not going to water hole. I just want to correct a couple facts. And then the other thing is...
You were born here in Ohio,
I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So you've been here your entire life. So the question is, did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did.
I know you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But, I think that this is... Yes, I've held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Okay,
it kind of does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test administrator.
All right, there you go.
So it kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
I'll tell you, I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
the main leadership role I've played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around. I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one...
Big pharma, bro. I don't know. Fucking my judgment's about to shift.
For prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that
no worries.
Because that's not the question that I asked. And I don't consider, as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you did for profit.
Filibuster. She's acting like she's like that kid who like the first kid in her class in her whatever fucking shithole neighborhood she's from that just learned like the biggest word in the class. That's like the energy I'm getting off of her.
I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with
Yeah.
your
So
company. I'm not talking about
I've
that
not served the country
because that
in the way
means
you
nothing
have.
to me.
You do
what I'm
realize
talking,
she
what
hasn't
I
been
am
able to ask a question. She's been trying to
Go
ask
for
a
it,
question,
yeah.
and you've been talking over her.
I'm
and
all ears.
We
Bro,
gave you the platform to let.
What is this fucking guy talking about? Like she's trying to like ask you a question. What? I mean, it's been what? It's been like 5 minutes already of this test that she's giving him, and where's? I'm still like, I know I'm like nicotined up and a little bit of ADD, but like, where the fuck is the question? What is the question? So you've been in student council, so you've been just sitting around. So it's where's the big question? Where's the whatever, dude. Let's keep going.
Let you say
Seems a
what
little
you said.
defensive.
I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting a couple
She hasn't had a chance
facts.
to
That's
ask
all.
a question yet. Every
Go
time
ahead,
she
Ted,
tries
ask
to
the
ask a
question.
question, you've been cutting her off. Go ahead, Ted.
I'm all ears.
Right. So your question. So my question again is: you're trying to your goal
Question
is to
again.
raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country, and you want people to have civic engagement. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all, and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service. Because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look.
Okay. So that's another point for Vivek, because you know what, this is the type of jaded veteran bullshit that gives veterans a bad name. Listen, I have plenty of friends who are veterans who have gone. I mean, I almost got shipped out to Afghanistan. I basically got a free ride through college because I joined ROTC, and then I decided to let them know right when they were going to ship me that I'm epileptic. So yeah, that's the immigrant hustle. That's how you get that loophole in capitalism to get ahead. So yeah, I'm not a veteran, but I respect veterans. But she's given a fucking horrible. What she's doing right now is she's like, what she basically said is, if you haven't served this country, you're just sitting around. What are you like? This is the type of veterans that give a bad name, because it's there's other things that people do other than and I can't tell you how many friends I have, at least I would say 6 veterans that I just didn't know they were veterans, because they're not jaded, and they're not they don't have a shitty, they're not fucking depressed on Oxycontin or whatever the fuck that. They serve their country, and then they use those benefits to have a happy life and not be on the Breakfast Club shitting on Vivek. Whatever, man. This is so fucking, it's just like, I'm a veteran, so you just expect all this fucking you just, the limelight's on you because what if there's another veteran in that room that is happy, that is educated, and that isn't bragging about their student? She's bragged about being on student council more than being a veteran. So
Look at politics and look at this country. I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role, it's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have
so
you
which
been
one
able
is
to
it?
get anybody in the room
Tizelle
at any
Cigaro
time,
or
from
whatever the
high
fuck?
school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top. So my question is this a PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality? Or can you point to any leadership where
Tizelle Cigaro, you need to go straight to the top of OBS, Streamlabs, Filmora production on how to get your green screen right. It's driving me nuts.
you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
So if you're only going to count government,
you see how fucking like delayed he is? He's like, what's the question? He doesn't want to say what's the question again. He's just like, where do I start with all these? It's the vibe that I'm getting is she's trying to have him go off his fucking rocker. on this podcast. But he's a politician, so I don't know if he's a fucking good person. I don't know yet if he's bad or good as a person. Really, I haven't, like, she's just been drilling him, but at least he's got his impulses down to not go off on her, because it's just
government service. You're absolutely
No, not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th. Were you a leader? Did you do anything to rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris. I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are in service to this country.
Listen. I want somebody in the office who gonna give us spaghetti and meatballs every other day, not just Salisbury steak. And I want some pizza too. Okay? I rallied to the student council lunch.
If you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding
That
the
I
same
signed up
standard.
to die
not government,
for.
Not political. Let's not get it confused. I'm saying, have you did anything of service that we can point to say he is a good leader? Like Chris, and I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president.
She should run because I don't know, man. Let's be honest. I'm not even being sarcastic right now. Compared to Joe Biden, maybe rallying for your school's lunch and student council, that might actually be more of a resume than Joe Biden. But look at this photo. Look at this video. This head in the fucking white void.
In high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself?
Green screen's driving me nuts.
It's just a simple question.
So the acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always been interested in
let's talk
healthcare.
about it. It's okay to talk about the small things. I think
these are small things, right? But thank you.
No, let's just mention it.
Bethesda North
So
Hospital.
it's really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I volunteered.
He's so like she's freezing him up so bad, because in his head he's just like, should I? Well, any act of service? Well, this one time when I was 9, this kid, he had a huge mole on his forehead, and nobody played with him. So I went to get ice cream, and it was a buy one get one free. So I gave him the second ice cream. Thank you. That's the kind of service I'm talking about.
We're not boasting. It's an
not
interview.
boasting.
You're
There we
boasting
go.
on your vision and everything else.
I think
you
one of the
boasted
things-
on the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in
I
6th
actually
grade, I'll give
didn't.
you an example. I'll help you out. In 6th grade, Miss
I'll
Harris,
tell you-
Miss Harris was let me give you an example, because maybe you're confused. In the 6th grade, Miss Harris was snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers. And I'll organize.
Fucking snatching papers. That's your I did the Watergate of papers, all right? Because this Miss Harris in 5th grade, she'd be snatching them, and then in 2nd grade, Mr. Johnson, he be eating the finger paint after school, and I made sure to bust his ass, and that's why I'll be running against you, Vivek.
The students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now, there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking back, and I got in trouble. I got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing.
He didn't spank
people.
you hard
I
enough.
want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the the pharmaceutical companies. What
Or she's
leadership
just
can
into
you
the
point
spanking.
to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president of the United States.
Sure. So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it. Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand out?
But I want to say something about that, because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college when you graduate. Is you want to check the box of community service.
About you.
So there was
it was
an
about
element. So there's that, and I'm admitting that in a way that very few other people do. But I got to be honest about it. That was a big part of why I did it. Yeah, when
it
I
was about
graduate.
self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys.
if I
I'm
can-
going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree
And
with
so
you on that.
What I just heard is that everything is about you. And to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir. To be honest with you.
All right, guys, let's get centered. Let's get centered. Let's stop being wild for a second. Because I'm just laughing my ass off at this dingbat this whole time. But the truth is, like, what she's talking about, everything he did is for himself. I mean, you could really make that argument in any way. You know, if you're becoming president, you're doing it for yourself because it's on your resume. No, you're doing it for other people. Like, there's so many ways you could flip that argument to, you know, basically feed your already pre-made beliefs, like your already pre-decided beliefs. Like, it's just like, I feel so bad because it's like he's trying to answer one question, and then the moment he does, she's like, "Oh, so you." I just, it's hard for me to even follow. Like, if I was being grilled by this person, I'd be like, "Let me speak. Let me answer this question thoroughly, so that you can understand what it is that I accomplished, how it helped people, and." You know, sometimes when you help people, I mean, I'll give you an example. I used to volunteer at it's called a National Association of Mental Illness. I used to volunteer and speak at psych wards to help these people. And you could say, yeah, I'm doing this for other people, but honestly, it helped me. It helped me because I loved sharing my story. I loved, you know, teaching people, you know, when people get broken, they're either half glass full or half glass empty, and I wanted to teach these people the coping mechanisms that I had that might help them. But by helping them, I'm kind of helping myself, because I'm just like basically telling myself, man, I went through this horrible fucking shit and I came out a warrior. I came out on top. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Anytime you do good acts, you're also doing self-service. Bro, I mean, it's very obvious she just doesn't like him. So I don't know what else to say, but I don't know. You know, the other thing too is, like, that's why it's not just being a centrist, but also being an immigrant. You can feel that envy and jealousy of somebody who is born in America, in an American family, and they don't get as successful as Vivek is saying. You know, he's like in the health. I mean, he's like, let's be honest, like every other stereotypical Indian person that you know. That's the stereotype. They're doctors, they're pharmacists, they're very educated people, and so I think that. How do I explain this? It's not a race of people. It's not a culture of people. It's just fucking poor people who fucked up and didn't decide to go forward and make something of themselves, are unbelievably jealous of these people who came here with probably less than them, but they're doing better. And you could just feel that here. I mean, she's talking about how much money did you have? What like, you know, oh God, it's just like, whatever, man, whatever.
You, and I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color. And I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion
with your positions, and I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you guys.
Let me ask, because she did ask me a question, and then you guys said you wanted to hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion. So just, I want to make sure you're all done before I respond to it.
You need to do a little bit of work in service. You know, enlist in the Marines, go fight in Ukraine, and come back and talk to me.
To say that even then, I would still want you to point out, even at the hospital, something that you did that made you stand out on when actually taking a leadership role. But you already answered it. You said you did it because it was a motivation to get in college.
Exactly.
Which means
and
it was
I'm being
about
very
you.
honest about that.
Everything has been about you. So as a veteran,
let me tell you something. I appreciate
it's very hard for me to follow lead.
All right, guys, this is some tree hugging hippie shit. This is what she keeps talking about, this thinking about the self, thinking about, you know, doing things selfishly. When you become a doctor, yeah, you're becoming a doctor to make good money and because that's a good profession, but you're helping people. You're doing that stuff, you know, like if you, wherever you work, when you go into the, what did she say? She's from the Air Force. Yeah, you go to the Air Force I mean, she didn't go. I can guarantee she didn't go to the Air Force because she's like, holding a fucking American flag on the peak of a mountain, screaming at the top of her lungs because she's patriotic. She went there. You could tell she went to the Air Force because, I mean, what else would she have been doing right now? Yeah,
leaders that
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there because I'm going to get canceled with my first video.
make everything about them. So you might want to work on that because it's a lot of veterans and Republicans. So you might want to work on that talking point and maybe do some volunteering while you're on the campaign trail. I'm going to give it back to Charlamagne and Envy.
Yeah, once I want to be respectful.
What?
I want to make sure you got everything.
I'm going to have a test with you. 45 questions, none of them answered. You know what? You need to do a little bit more service. I'm done with you. Bro, how is this person on a show? This is what kind of interview is that?
Thing you wanted to on the table before
Sure.
I
But
responded.
got plenty. If this was just us, it would be a lot more.
You guys tell me. I'm the guest on your show. You tell me when I'm good to speak.
I also like I don't know who the fuck this Charlamagne the there's a guy. Okay, let me get this straight. I don't know who he is, but there's a guy called Charlamagne the God. He looks like the smallest person in the room with the biggest throne. I mean, this is so goofy. Why did you go on this podcast, man?
Go ahead.
You sure? Mm-hmm. You sure about that? If we're good.
Yeah, we're sure.
So I think there's a different worldview that we have. And I think the worldview is how one actually makes contributions in a country. I do not believe that there's a separate category of just if you're serving the country and then if you're acting in self-interest, that's somehow sinful or wrong. I reject that vision. To the contrary, I think capitalism is the best system known to man to lift people up from poverty. I deeply respect and I thank you for your service to this country. I'm grateful for it. I haven't served the country in the way that you have. But I think that the way you get ahead in capitalism, how did I develop a multi-billion-dollar biotech company? It was by developing medicines that save people's lives.
A lot of people say capitalism causes poverty.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think that
See, what I got to say right now is, okay, so there's a little period of time where I was dog walking, right? It was just a little extra scratch, when people Uber. Instead of Ubering in Chicago and getting shot, I was like, maybe I should walk some dogs. And I was walking these dogs. There's a guy who, no joke, 3-floor mansion, 4 Lamborghinis, 3 Ferraris, 1 Maserati, and 2 Land Rovers in their driveway. And he's also a doctor, like Vivek. He's clearly a fucking millionaire with all with that swag, with all those cars. I was like hoping that there was no cameras there so I could just pose in front of all of them like a rap video. But what I'm trying to what's the point of what I'm saying? What I'm saying is clearly he's doing a service for the people. Politicians don't make shit. Yeah, they got side hustles. Yeah, they got their, whatever Bernie Madoffs, that they're managing their money and probably fucking them over. But most politicians, look up, go ahead and Google what even the president of the United States, what he makes yearly. So clearly he's like, yo, I've made my millions. I've done my service, whatever medically, whatever the hell it is he's into. Because like I said, I don't know this guy, but from what I've heard from this video, he said he's got a company that makes multi-millions. So listen, like I said, I learned about this country's government back in 6th grade. And back then they said the president's yearly salary is $200,000. So think about that, bro. He went from multi-millions to $200,000. If that ain't helping people, I don't know what it. She's saying it's whatever. Let's just keep going.
Capitalism demands that you provide something to someone that helps them more than you're actually charging them for it. That's the only way.
That's
the
a
tried
business
and true
model,
way
sir. That's
it
not
is a business
service.
model. It's not. I'm not
That's
saying
not
it's
service.
I'm saying it's
But
having
see,
an impact on society.
An elected official is
That's a business model because she knows a whole lot about business.
service. That's the disconnect.
That's right. So
that you're
now,
missing that they didn't teach
I'm moving on to. Now I'm moving on to. There are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service, and that's where we're having a disconnect.
Well, I disagree with you on that. I just disagree with you on that.
I do think it's whack that you're proposing to revoke voting rights for 18 to 24-year-olds unless they meet certain qualifications, but you never exercised your rights.
Well,
so long.
Most young people don't, is the whole point.
Well,
so, Charlamagne, let me ask you a question. Do you think
the largest voter turnouts have been over the last couple of elections, few elections?
They still voted at a very low rate, but let me ask.
You know, I could see both sides of that argument. I'm not going to shit on Charlamagne here about, you know, he's trying to move, what was it he said? Like, trying to move the voting age from 18 to 24. I could see both sides. I guess it is a shitty thing because it's how it's always been, you know, being traditionalist. But at the same time, I mean, it's different times. People had different levels of accountability and responsibility. I mean, people were getting married at 16 way back when, right? And able to raise a nuclear family and just contribute to this capitalist machine. And now, I mean, I'm 36 right now, and I know people still living with their parents, working at a Starbucks, and on the weekends going to fucking protests. So are those people qualified to vote? You tell me. I don't know. Like, maybe it's funny. This is why it's great being a centrist, because in that voting, think about this for a second, because you think I don't know what the viewer thinks right now. This is my first video, but I keep saying that, but it's like at the same time, the same people who'd be like, you know, there's a hypocrisy at both sides. It's like these people are going to fight for freedom of speech, but then they're going to be against a certain like voting age. You see how that works? It's like, here's what I'm saying. The right is like, I got the right to bear arms, right? You know, freedom of speech, freedom to vote. And then this side is like, the left side is like, no, you can't change the age to vote. Like, so I guess what I'm saying is you're being petty about your fucking rights, and decide, do you want to revise these things or do you want to live by these standards that, this is why I'm saying you could see both sides. These standards were set fucking centuries ago. So make a fucking decision. All right.
Ask you a question. What do you think about high school students being required to pass the civics test? What's your perspective on that?
The one that you proposed?
The one that every immigrant has to pass in order to enter the country. If every high school student has to pass that before they graduate, what's your take on that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, good. Now let me tell you something about the law as it exists today. Men in this country, not women, but men are required by law to register with the Selective Service, age 18 to 25. That's the draft. We don't have a draft, but men have to register. If you don't, they put you in prison. At least they can. It's a criminal offense if you don't. My view is I would decriminalize that. I don't like the government.
That's the funny thing. Coming from like a immigrant perspective, it's so funny to me when you see those, you know, those bumper stickers, proud to be a veteran. It's just like, bro, if you're from Europe, man, it should say content that I didn't get sent to jail because you have to be in the army in this country.
Government telling you what you can and cannot do. That's not the American way. But if you want to enjoy the civic privilege of voting, then I think it is perfectly legitimate to say you have to at least know something about the country or have served that country.
What is wrong with that?
Absolutely. Now, I think that what do we actually care about, right? What do we? I mean, we can do the personal attack thing. We care about the country. We care about the country.
The cornerstone of democracy, though.
Voting is the cornerstone of democracy.
I
have
not.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing that's different.
Sir, excuse me, because this is important. We have to pause it. This is not a personal attack.
That's okay.
This is you, and I know that as a Republican, you are certainly not soft. So this is not a personal attack.
Yeah,
I'm okay with attacks too. This is about asking about your background and how it correlates, how it's relevant to saying you're going to serve this country, because president is actually. So
I have been an open book in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
And I'm going page by page.
And I'm saying that I have not.
I'm going to let you finish, but I want to be clear. It's not an attack.
Okay.
Because you've been an open book, but that doesn't mean I have to like what's on the page.
That's fair
enough.
But
it's not an attack. I'm just reading the book.
Yep.
And so when I hear somebody say you need to get to either pass this test or do some type of service to the country, and I spend hours looking, you were in the Phi Beta Kappa Did you have a leadership role in college, the honor roll? When somebody sets service as the standard and they've done no service except to themselves, that's a fair question. It's a question, and you just
so I've been on. I mean, look, I was on high school. I was on high school student council. Yes, absolutely.
Were you a leader? Were you a leader?
I was a vice president of my high school student council. Absolutely, I was the president.
Why are we still talking about high school? Jesus Christ, man. I bet. Well, I mean, I guess that probably. I mean, I'm not even trying to shit. That's probably the highest thing she's earned, but still, I just, listen, I'm not trying to shit on Tizan Cigaro or whatever the fuck. I'm just saying, like, to me, somebody bragging, I served in student council in high school is like, it's like Uncle Rico. I used to be able to throw the football over them mountains, you know? I used to fuck 20 different chicks a week. Who gives a shit? Who the fuck are you now? You know, like
president of the National Honor Society. I can go down the list. It's just that
that's what I was asking you to do.
Absolutely.
Go down the list. But
so I was a president of the National Honor Society. I was the vice president of my student council. I was a lead amongst the volunteers at the hospital where I served growing up. I was actually a leader in volunteer research over the summers. From my senior year,
all of that, but you already admitted all of that was to get into college.
Not all of it, but I am admitting it. I think that
I know that's self-service, though. Do you understand the difference between self-service and service?
And I think the reality is, and I think we just all have to be more honest. When many high school students are serving today, not all of them, but I think let's smoke it out. I don't like that structure where we actually mix service with self-interest.
And I don't like the structure of somebody saying somebody need to give service as a veteran. I don't like the structure of somebody going to the highest office of the land and have not served anybody at any time unless it was self-serving. So this is where we just have two different ideologies. And I know your goal was to come here and get into.
You know what? I am done. All right, so that's that. So what can I say as a wild centrist? Clearly, I gotta say, I don't know shit about Vivek, but in that specific interview, I took his side because, I mean, like, that was like half. You know, I don't know if you noticed on the time scroll, that's like half that episode of her just shitting on this guy, and she has this complete like complex. She obviously has a very complete like inferiority complex that. You went to school, and you didn't serve in the army. I mean, how many have you? All I'm saying is this: these people, I can guarantee. Like, here's what I'm saying. There's just a group of people. It's in the Chicagoland comedy scene. It's in the Chicago music scene that I used to be into. It's in just the entire social scene in this world where it's like, what's the next thing we can complain about and shit on, you know? And it went viral that Vivek is this, immigrant, brand new sort of like, I guess, I don't know how to explain, like a minority sort of Republican that has kind of radical views that he's just, you would label him a radical because he's not a rotting old white man that looks like the Crypt Keeper. You know what I'm saying? So he's something fresh. That is what people are looking for right now. But that's my point of view. Her point of view, and all these people who are fighting for whatever team they're on, it's just like, this Vivek guy, he's coming out and he's not one of us. He's not one of us. Shit on him. Because you don't like... I didn't hear, I guess what I'm saying is like, I went into this thinking I'm going to learn a little bit about the Breakfast Club and a little bit about Vivek Ram Spaghetti, whatever the fuck. And I didn't learn shit. I learned Vivek is running for office. He used to be in medicine. This Tizan Cigaro used to be a veteran. She doesn't know how to use a green screen. And she really hates Vivek, which... I don't know why. That's the thing. That's what I love. That's what I like. Whenever these people come out, like it wasn't a few months ago. I just lost track of time ever since COVID. But I got to tell you, it was like it's the same situation of these people who Like they started hating on Elon Musk. You know, Elon came out and he's like, oh, you know, I got this fucking electric car. It's going to be better. It's going to like cut down on pollution, which whatever. It was debunked that it doesn't. But I can't find a single person that can tell me like people who say they hate on him. I can't find a person who can tell me why they hate on him, number one. And number two, if they can prove that they're not jealous of him. Okay? Because the truth is, people, everybody's got flaws. Every single human has flaws. You dig deep enough, they got shit on them, okay? And like right here, clearly she's just part of that team. She's part of whatever fucking you call it, Team A, and Team A says Vivek is not on our side. Hate on him. And it's just so funny that she keeps saying, she's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable, you know, voting for somebody who didn't serve this country. Okay. That's not I would say that's a respectful point. I don't have anything against that. But she's coming up, she's like giving this vibe like, oh, you know, I vote for all my representatives. I make sure everybody that runs this state serve the country, and I make sure that bullshit, bro. Bullshit. You came with an agenda, you shit on this guy, and I didn't learn anything. Congratulations, Vivek. You didn't pass her test, but you won my approval in this little. It wasn't a debate. You got shat on, you got bullied, and she kept interrupting. So whatever. Thank you for getting wild. Peace.